I'm going to call Phil Twyford.
I just want to acknowledge that tantalising intervention by the Minister and the Chair, just enough to get members interested in some real debate and information, but I don't want to deter the Minister from intervening again, because there are a number of questions that have been put on the table. I did notice that we've been joined by the Minister of Local Government. She must have been following this bill, and I'm pleased that she's taken time off from her busy schedule vilifying State House tenants to join us for this debate.
Back on.
I want to talk about Clause 5, Mr Chairman, and note that Section 144 of the Principal Act provides that the hearings panel must make recommendations on the plan or the proposed plan after it has finished hearing all the submissions. So they have to hear all the submissions, all the deliberations, and then make their recommendations and their findings in one go at the end of the process. And in order to kind of speed up the workflow, we've been hearing about 5,000 site-specific zoning submissions by the people of Auckland that the panel is desperate to get through so it can report in time, July 22nd next year. So I think we all understand the logic for this, but it does raise certain questions, and I'd really appreciate the Minister paying attention to this and giving us a response. There's no doubt that Clause 5 adds some practicality, allowing recommendations to be passed on to the Council in a kind of drip-fed way, so that the Council can, it will expedite the whole process by allowing the Council to consider recommendations as the panel goes through its work. I think we can all understand that. But it also raises whether matters will have been properly considered in the whole, because none of the issues that the Unitary Plan Independent Hearings Panel are considering sit in isolation. That's the whole point of the Unitary Plan. It's a holistic approach, it's an integrated exercise in spatial planning. All of these things are connected. All of the zoning considerations, land use and so on, they all impact on each other. And I think that the risk here with Clause 5 is that you'll get a piecemeal consideration of issues in isolation. And the hearings panel may find that by the time they get to the end of the process and they've made all their recommendations, they may not in fact be happy with the tenor or the tone or the emphasis of some of the early recommendations that they made on the basis of considering submissions and deliberating on just one topic. So I think I'd really like to hear what consideration the Minister and officials in preparing this legislation for the House gave to that issue, because I think that's something that needs to be considered. Now, Mr Chairman, I want to speak to my tabled amendment that Eugenie Sage just made some comments about. So it deals with Clause 5, and it replaces subsection 5 with the following sentence. The hearings panel is limited to making recommendations only within the scope of the submissions made on the proposed plan. Now, I think this takes us back to the principal legislation. When the amendments were made to the Resource Management Reform Bill, it allowed the hearings panel to make decisions that are beyond the scope of the submissions that they've received on the proposed plan and on any matter identified by the panel. And this was controversial at the time, and we debated this in the House, because this is a break with the normal practice under the Resource Management Act. It's an extraordinarily broad power that it gives to the Independent Hearings Panel, and that is significant, sir, because the nature of this process, this bespoke process, and the intrinsic to the whole idea of the Independent Hearings Panel is that it truncates public consultation. It reduces the say that people have. It cuts the Environment Court out of the process. So we have to be extremely careful in ensuring that that we balance the desire to kind of streamline and speed up and simplify with ensuring that there are the proper protections about sound decision making and consultation. So if you look at the Environment Court, the normal process, Mr. Chairman,
I'm going to call